Hello there, my name is Steven Sarber. I am a Biology 102 student, and this is my media piece on microorganisms, or animals, more precisely, microanimals. So, to get us started, we should understand what animals are so that we can distinguish animals from non animals when we're evaluating microorganisms in the water. And so, an animal is classified primarily by the ability to eat other organisms, or not even the ability to, but the habit to eat other organisms, having the ability to move about, and being multicellular. And specifically, their cells do not have walls, which is contrasted with plants, which are also multicellular, but their cells do have walls. And so you can see here in this figure there's five main animal kingdoms, and animals are just one of those five kingdoms, and they are classified by those attributes I just mentioned. And so, if that's what animals are, what are microanimals? Well, they are animals that are just extremely small, too small to see with the naked human eye. However, um, some microanimals, while they are too small to see with the naked human eye when they are born, they grow to become visible. They can get to over, some of them can get to up to a centimeter or more in size, which is definitely visible by the human eye. But this picture kind of depicts um, the size, the relative scale of things. And so on the far right, there's a human hair follicle, which we can see. Um, but then there's it gets smaller and smaller from there. And so you can imagine as these animals are half a millimeter wide, that would be a little bit wider than a hair, a human hair, but they're still very hard to see, and they can be as small as some of these tiny little um, individual cells, in fact. So in order to see microanimals, obviously we need to use a microscope. But so we should understand how magnification works. So basically, when your eyes look at something, they form um, the angle of the rays coming of the light that object is emitting into your eye, um, create an arc in the back of your retina. And depending on how steep the angle is between where, like the range of where the light is coming into your eye from, the larger the image will look. I.e., when the image is closer to your face, it will look close. It will look larger. And so, what a magnifying glass does is it takes this angle, which would be pretty narrow coming into your eye, and it refracts the image, the light that's being emitted by the object, in such a way that now the angle appears to your eye to be much greater, which makes it look bigger as it occupies more space in the back of your retina. So that's fundamentally how it works, which is frankly pretty cool. I actually enjoyed researching it for this presentation. But more specifically, we have microscopes that do this same process, but with a little more technology. They have a light that shines from underneath to illuminate the specimen and emit the light particles of the object you're observing into the ocular lenses. And so you would look through the ocular lens, and then there's some glass and mirrors to reflect onto the objective lenses, and the objective lenses are doing the main magnification portion that was shown in this slide here. And then the rest of the microscope is kind of built just to help. They're kind of supporting characters, like the stage kind of moves around to keep the specimen sample stable, and you can use these dials to move the stage around and manipulate the microscope into various ways to help you see what it is you're looking at. So Without further ado, let's discuss the microanimals that I actually observed. First and foremost, the Daphnia, otherwise known as the water flea. These are microscopic animals that are very, very common, and they have appendages that move them through the water. They eat anything smaller than it, meaning other animals, plants, bacteria, pretty much anything smaller than it. They hatch in large numbers, and they're an important food source for larger aquatic species. Here we can observe some water fleas swimming around underneath the microscope. You may notice they are quite active. I also looked at nematodes. These are muscular little micro animals that wiggle through the water. They're eaten by larger animals, and they will also, similar to the Daphnia, eat anything smaller than it, whether it be an animal or a plant or bacteria or protist, perhaps. Check out these nematodes swimming through the water underneath our microscope. There's the Hydra, which these are also interesting. They can perform both sexual and asexual reproduction, which is fascinating. They attach themselves to a substrate, as shown in this picture, and they're predators. They only eat other animals. They have these tentacles with stinging cells on them, and as something swims past, it stings them and immobilizes the animal and moves the animal into its mouth, which is pretty interesting. And they can grow to be very large, over 20 millimeters, which is definitely visible by the human eye. So pretty cool. And here you can see some footage of an actual hydra under the microscope. It's moving around, trying to grab its food, doing some cool things. And finally, the coolest microanimal of them all, and probably after researching it, my favorite animal in the whole world, the tardigrade, also known as the water bear. These critters are spectacular. They can, it looks like this image, and it has this weird little mouth thing that it uses to suck nutrients out of plants. And it has these legs with claws on them that it attaches to plants with, and but the cool thing about them is they can survive in the most extreme conditions. They have this like hibernation mode in which they like press all of the it's called cryptobiosis, where they press all of their moisture pretty much out of their body and into their like exoskeleton, or just outside of it. They form some sort of like layering around themselves, and they are able to survive in absolute zero freezing temperatures, above boiling temperatures, super high pressure, like 6 times the pressure of the deepest point in the entire ocean, and as well as in the vacuum of space somehow. And they can live for 30 years in this state without food or water. They're indestructible, which is fascinating. They're super tough, and they're very cool because of their ability to survive in that. So these guys are kind of hard to see under the real microscope, but they're in there. You can see them moving around.